Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another special edition of Rumors versus Facts, the UGA Sports Recruiting Insight Show. I'm joined by Jed May, Senior Recruiting Editor and Team Coverage Expert at UGASports.com. I'm Roddy Nabulsi, the publisher of UGA Sports, the owner thereof. And this has been like a daily occurrence. Jed and I took off on Sunday to head to Indianapolis. On our way up there, Georgia picked up a commitment from Shadarius Tootle. And there's been a commitment every day ever since. They've had 6 commits in 6 days, 7 and 12 days. It's just been nonstop. So, Jed, this one was a surprise for a lot of people. Now, to be fair, we kind of took some of the wind out of the surprise angle of it because everyone was predicting him to go to Texas. But after you met with him on Monday, we put out a story Tuesday morning saying, don't count Georgia out despite the late offer. So, yeah, I know you've got a great thing on the board about how this went down, but kind of give us the expurgated version of it, if you would, the clip notes of how this went down. Because to me, this is a fascinating story because everyone's expecting this kid to go to Georgia. Our Texas site was telling us, yeah, he's committed to Texas on Friday. And that's not a shot against them. Everybody in the industry believed Chace Calicut, the Rivals 100 defensive back, is going to Texas, but he's a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, I mean, and I was one of those people too. And I asked our Texas guys in Indianapolis, and they were like, "Yeah, his official visit to Texas was last weekend." So they said, "Yeah, we talked to him Sunday at the airport. He said, have a commit story ready for Texas." And I was like, "Okay, like that makes sense," because I figured Georgia had done enough to get in it. They were going to have a hat on the table. I mean, they didn't offer the kid till the end of April, so. To be in the final 3 to get an official visit is a good job as it is. So I figured it'd be Texas like everybody else. And then he comes up, introduces himself to me and Harrison in Indianapolis. And he just starts talking and he says, "Yeah, I know where I'm going." And he winks at us. I'm like, "Okay, well, that's kind of," because he knew who we work for. I was like, "Okay, that's kind of
players winking, man."
Said, the school I'm going to, the one school I'm picking has a better defensive track record than the other 2, and I'm leaving hundreds of thousands in NIL money off the table to make this decision and all these kind of things. And he got done, and I was like, "That's weird." So I asked him, I was like, "Dude, like you're saying all this stuff like off the record, is it going to be Jordan?" He was like, "Yeah." So he knew that everyone was predicting him to Texas, and he played along with it, and he had this whole plan to be a Bulldog. So I did a commitment. I don't know that we were the first people he told. I know that Texas buzz still kind of persisted throughout Monday, at least in Monday.
No, he didn't tell anybody else, or no one else.
It was funny because I asked him. I was like, "So I just met. Like I don't know. I'm assuming our Texas guys have interviewed him in person before his official visit." So I was like, "You're not like screwing with me, are you? Like as the guy you just met?" He's like, No. Like I don't want any crystal balls or predictions or whatever, but I'm going to be Georgia. It's going to be Georgia." So we obviously didn't know for sure till he announced, I guess about half an hour ago now. But yeah, just a ridiculous, 2-month. He even told me, he's like, "Yeah, going into my Georgia official visit, I thought I was going to Texas." That's one that, we see this story a lot, right? With guys from Texas, guys from even Louisiana. Georgia offers them late. Maybe you get a visit, and after the visit, the kid says, "Oh yeah, they made a move. They're a serious contender, blah, blah, blah." And then they commit to LSU or they commit to Texas or A&M or whatever. And then that's how it goes, right? That's why those programs are so good, is because they recruit so well in state. But Georgia did. I don't know what else you can say other than the development angle. I think that they pitch is the one that hit here. It's funny because I was writing these stories the other day and I was like, man, it's going to be really annoying when, or people are going to say, "Oh, Georgia just gave him a bunch of money so he could commit." When he said that's not, like, he literally said the exact opposite of that, right? Like he said he didn't go to the place that gave him the most money. So it's just a crazy story. It's one of the crazier ones that I've kind of been closely involved with since I've been doing this. And at the end of the day, like, let's not let the crazy story kind of gloss over the fact that this is a top 60 player in the country that Georgia has pulled away from Texas and away from Michigan to add to the secondary.
And and we may have him underrated. And I hate saying crap like that. I hate saying anybody in the top 300 is underrated.
Mm-hmm.
8 million high school football players say someone's in 300 is underrated. It sounds stupid, but look, we saw him, the way he moves. That
6'3", by the way, for people who weren't familiar with him, this kid's a 6'3", 190-pound guy that Georgia is pitching at corner.
Yeah.
And again, we saw him in Indianapolis because you hear that and it's like, okay, you tell a kid what he wants to hear to get him. He moves very well to be that big. You get him around that defensive back coaching staff, get him around there in December or January, and see what happens for sure.
So he's got those long arms like Ellis Robinson. Maybe not quite that long, but I mean, this guy he's half spider. He can he can tie his shoes without bending over. He's got rhythm, in stride with the way he runs. It's a smooth gait. I mean, it doesn't look like a safety out there clomping around. He runs like a cornerback. He's actually, we lined everybody up for the 40-yard dash. He was one of the top guys.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of the fastest players in the country. But there's that it factor. When you get around Ellis Robinson, you feel that it factor. There's certain guys Derek Cooper's one of them. You're just like, this kid's different. Not to say he's Travis Hunter, but when Travis Hunter came to camp, he was wearing sunglasses, and he didn't dress out like everybody else did because he wasn't going to camp, but he watched everybody going head to head, and he just couldn't stand it. He ran out there and ran routes and stuff and knocked down passes. That's kind of what I got from Chace Calicut. This guy he's special. So I'm not saying that just because Georgia got him. We said the same thing about who's the safety that Eric Winters at
Mm-hmm.
Auburn. I will rave about Eric Winters till my dying day. Kid was lights out. You could say there's certain guys just have that. Caleb Downs, wow factor. This kid kind of reminds me of they're different body styles, but my point is, sometimes when you see a kid who has that gumption, that kind of, and you see him just struggling with the words, those intangibles, you're like, what is it about this kid that stands out? He was obviously a leader of men. They were all following him around. And I was thinking, hey, Texas is getting a great one. Man, it's going to suck for Georgia's wide receivers when they have to go up against this kid, in future battles. But now he's on your squad now. And you're right. This is a note from Jeff Ketchum, the publisher of Orange Bloods, who is still a Rivals Network site for at least for a little bit. He said, this would have stunned me 2 weeks ago. Yes, it would have stunned everybody 2 weeks ago. He literally told Orange Bloods on Sunday that he was going to Texas. And then he said, never project North Shore to Texas.
And see,
is this their Buford curse?
That's the thing. I obviously am not a Texas recruiting expert, but reading some of their boards the past couple of days, that's kind of what it sounds like is kid. And I don't know who has or hasn't gone to North Shore other than Calicut. So, but that's kind of what it made me think of, is Georgia's on the good side of a curse for once. But again, I mean, after his official visit, he told me, Georgia made a move and whatever. And he had one quote that was interesting where he said, I want to see how Michigan and Texas compare to Georgia in the sense of how they coach their players, how they develop their guys, stuff like that. And so that kind of made me think a little bit, okay, well, maybe Georgia has a chance. But you just think getting the first visit, which that was his first visit to Athens since he was in like 8th grade, which I'm sure was for a 7-on-7. So essentially his first ever visit to campus as a recruit. And you think, okay, maybe you beat out Michigan. Michigan's far from home. It's cold, whatever. There's just no way they're going to beat out Texas, who's been on them a long time, who's local, who, got closer to a national championship last year than Georgia did. I mean, they're a program still on the rise, and it's just –
and has millions.
I mean, I never would have – and even coming out of the weekend, we heard good things. I remember Dash texted us saying, he had heard – good things about Georgia and Chace Calicut. And it's amazing to think that literally 2 months ago, this kid did not have a Georgia offer at all.
I want you to break down that story, because I thought when you wrote the offer story, it was to me that they said the right things. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, and it was an in-home visit. It was April, I want to say 29th maybe or 30th. Dante Williams has an in-home visit out in Houston, and he tells him, he's like, "Yeah, I know we're coming in late, but if a coach is offering this late, they really want you." And he Calicut told me after his official visit, Kirby Smart told him one of the reasons that we didn't offer you is because we didn't think we had a chance to get you. So, like,
Hell,
even
Georgia
Kirby
didn't
Smart
even believe they were
himself,
getting him.
Kirby Smart, with the recruiting track record he's developed over the last 9 or 10 years, can get just about anybody, especially when we're talking defensive backs. And even he thought that Georgia didn't have a chance to land Chace Calicut. And then again, it's one visit. And the quote he gave me in the behind the scenes was he's sitting in a defensive back meeting room, and he's got Travaris Robinson over here, he's got Dante Williams over here, Kirby Smart sitting here, and he's like, essentially says, "How could I not go here as a defensive back who wants to get to the NFL?" And I think, again, we've heard that, we're at the end of a month of June where all these kids have taken official visits every single weekend. Defensive backs, running backs, receivers, whatever. Every single one of them say Georgia's pitch is come here, get developed, go in the first couple rounds of the draft in 3 or 4 years and make that NIL money. And some kids it hits with, and some kids it doesn't. And Chace Calicut very clearly that just knocked his socks off and knocked it off enough to withstand, the final efforts that Michigan and Texas made over the past couple weeks.
I mean, think about Kirby Smart's track record. Eric Stokes, Chris Smith, Kamari Lassiter, the Clemson transfer,
Darion Kendrick.
Yeah, I mean, he puts defensive backs, linebackers, defensive linemen in the NFL. So there's no question about it. I do think it's very interesting that we have him listed as a safety. Georgia sees him as a cornerback. You mentioned he's 6'3", and he is all 6'3". That is not he's a tall kid. Was that a recruiting pitch, or do you really think they'll line him up there?
I mean, after what we saw the other day, I think they'll try it. I mean, he moves well. He flips his hips well. He tracks guys down. And then, for those of you who watched his ceremony or his commitment ceremony at OT7, they showed some highlights from 7-on-7 play. And he swoops out of the air like the closest real life incarnation to if a hawk literally played, like the most literal incarnation of a ball hawk that I think I've ever seen. If you Photoshop talons onto him, that's what it would look like. So, it looked like safety. Admittedly, I haven't watched a lot of OT7 this year, so it looked like he plays safety in 7-on-7. But as far as size, we've talked about a guy like Ellis Robinson needing to add weight, needing to get bigger to play in the SEC. Calicut's probably 190 pounds, 195 pounds. So the size part of it is there. You get him on campus and get learning technique and those kinds of things from Kirby Smart, from, again, Travaris Robinson, Dante Williams, all those guys, then yeah, I think they try him at corner. And then if it doesn't work out, I think you got another naturally talented guy who can move to safety or star eventually down the line too. They cross train all these guys in the secondary anyway. So
yeah, it's true.
I think it'd be worth a shot. So, but yeah, I think that first year we'll or at least in spring, we'll see him at corner and then we'll go from there. But the skill set at that size is wild to see. Because again, I didn't know what to expect seeing him in person. I've obviously never been to one of his games being in Houston. So I was very impressed on Sunday for sure.
Oh yeah. Again, I just think I was watching the kid dance to Gasolina, and I'm like, okay, this kid.
And he like you were saying earlier, he's got a gravitas about him. He's a guy that kids follow, that kind of he's a big presence, I guess. He is a guy that is a very front facing, a media days type. He's a guy that people want to follow.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People want to follow on the defense. And it reminds me a little bit of KJ Bolden's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
From when a guy who I did see in high school. So you got to tip your hat to Kirby Smart and that stuff. I don't know what else you can say. This is just a ridiculous win. We thought coming into the week, okay, Georgia's run of commitments will maybe cap out at 5 on Thursday, and now they add another one today, and still some decisions coming in the next couple of days. So great.
I think Sacred Grove nailed it. He said he's an alpha. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. That's a good word for it, for sure.
Thank you. I'm stumbling over my words. I'm a little heat stroke from cutting grass, so I can't really speak this well. Plus, hey, dude, it's Friday. It's 5:00, so y'all have a celebratory drink. But speaking of Malachi Lee makes his announcement tonight, and then you got who is it? James Johnson tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it
give us a preview. Make your call.
Might be Michigan for Malachi Lee, and that's one kind of a little bit like this this Calicut recruitment, except it might go the way of the longtime favorite. Michigan has been a longer term force in this recruitment than Georgia, I would say. Georgia's done a great job. Stacey Searles has been out to Hawaii a couple times. Even Roddy went out to Hawaii to talk to the young man, which shows how interested Georgia is.
I do it for you people.
Yeah, he took an official, took an unofficial in June, but it looks like it's trending towards Michigan. We'll see. It's in about 2 hours. I think it's at 7:30 here on the East Coast. And then James Johnson tomorrow is one where he's a defensive lineman. I think Georgia still needs a couple more hand in the dirt defensive linemen, as interior guys especially. Johnson was forecasted to Georgia earlier in the week by Chad Simmons of our new colleagues at On3. Miami's not going to let him go easy. We know what Miami's capable of on the trail, so we'll see. I don't know a time for that one. I'm not exactly sure when that is tomorrow, but that's one that I think is going to go down to the wire. And
probably in the middle of your backswing.
It would be huge, but we'll see.
Your middle of your backswing on the fifth hole.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's going to be the reason why that will absolutely be the reason I send one flying into the trees, not the fact that I hadn't hit the center of my driver face in 3 months, but whatever. But again, and I saw that, like you mentioned yesterday, like to kind of wrap up the show maybe a little bit. You talked yesterday about like enjoying the guys you do get. And I posted this morning, I was like, okay, Chace Calicut's committing about 4. We think it'll be Georgia. Malachi Lee's committing tonight. We think it'll be Michigan or Texas. And the thread just evolves into like why can't Georgia recruit the offensive line and this thread. And I was like, guys, you're skipping over the part where Georgia has swooped in from out of nowhere and is landing one of the top defensive backs in the country right out from under Steve Sarkisian's nose. So, if Georgia doesn't get Malachi Lee tonight, the offensive line will be okay. The offense, it's still a good class, and there's 6 months till signing day. There's time to evaluate senior film. You could save a spot for a portal guy. And same with James Johnson. If James Johnson stays home and goes to Miami tomorrow, there's a lot of other defensive linemen that Georgia's in on, starting with Valdon Sohn, who blew the staff away to camp this summer. So it's going to be okay, even if Georgia misses on these next 2 over the next couple of days. But savor this week, because I don't remember a week like this, and I don't know when's the next time we'll see one with this many, top 150, top 200 studs all committing to Georgia in 5 or 6 days.
Yeah. That's another top 100 guy. So 4 out of the 6 are top 100.
It's crazy. Just silly season.
Yeah. Hey, we need to check the new team rankings, see how they're doing. Still, but again, there's a lot of room left. Anyway, that's all the time we have for Friday. Everybody go out and have a celebratory hunker bourbon. I have the hunker vodka behind me, but grab one of those. Just because they have that revenue sharing doesn't mean NIL ends. Just means that all the kids get paid, and it will still be these decisions. Some of them will still come down to NIL, but you got to shout out to Chace Calicut, who actually left money on the table that Georgia can use for other players. So anyway, a kid who wants to be here, kind of a theme we're seeing this year. So can't wait to see him in Athens. And again, it's 6 months, so hopefully we're not looking back on this video going, damn, we were stupid. He said that he's going to do one and pick one and stick with them. So the way the kid was talking about Georgia, I think he plays in Athens. It'll be fun to watch. All right, folks, we'll see you later. For Jed, I'm Roddy. We'll hopefully maybe tonight or tomorrow. Not hold my breath on tonight, but maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Take care.